Hello, good evening. I'm Lisa Broom with the Tuesday, July 8th edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, an assurance this evening from Health Minister John Boyce that acute shortages at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital are being addressed. He made the declaration this afternoon in Parliament. It came after opposition member Dr. Maria Agard called on him to respond to the issue following a statement from the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners highlighting the problem. After an emergency meeting last evening, BAMP's acting public relations officer, Dr. Joseph Herbert, through a statement, said members were concerned that the standard of medical care at the QEH had been compromised by a lack of supplies. He said the challenges extend beyond the surgical services and affected the 4 intensive care units, the accident and emergency department, as well as the laboratory and imaging services. However, Minister Boyce says funds are being made available to the QEH.
Besides the immediate injection of some $2 million into the hospital, which has addressed the immediate shortage, some $20 million will be made available to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital over the very short term, about 5 to 10 days.
The health minister is also stressing there is no need to panic since there is no crisis. He adds that a shortage of supplies does not always mean there is no money to pay.
If there are items missing, medical supplies missing, yes, it is sometimes because of the shortage of funds, but sir, it is also because of the shortage of availability of the goods in Barbados. You know, nobody sits down and has a package marked Queen Elizabeth Hospital and waits for an order.
Minister Boyce also points out that costs at the QEH have risen sharply over the years, and for the fiscal year 2013 to 2014, they were close to $200 million.
The hospital recorded total expenditure of some $178 million. Salaries and other staff costs amounted to some $118 million. Medical supplies, some $13–14 million. Drugs, some $16 million. Property maintenance, $3.5 million. Utilities, some $12 million, and so it goes on.
Prime Minister Fendel Stewart says government is aware of the challenges at the hospital and is responding to them. He told the lower house that challenges at the hospital are nothing new and have plagued the institution from its inception. He says there is no need for alarm.
I think, Mr. Speaker, we have to just cool down a bit. Let's face the reality that the country has been facing some revenue challenges and has been facing, therefore, some cash flow challenges. But even when the country is not facing revenue challenges, it has been known to face cash flow challenges. And we just have to make the most prudent decisions in all of the circumstances. I do not accept that the hospital is in any crisis.
Well, the current crisis at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital is an indication of poor management of government's cash flow. This claim from opposition leader Mia Motley. She says the QEH was given a $32 million supplementary in March, but she claims the hospital is in debt to the tune of $43 million.
The question begs itself, how much money did the Queen Elizabeth Hospital receive in the first quarter from what has been voted in the $145 million? Because for the benefit of the public, Mr. Speaker, cash flow is delivered via warrants. The hospital sends up a warrant for X amount of money. And the Ministry of Finance will say we have it or we don't have it, take this instead. And the issue, therefore, is how much money was voted for.
Ms. Motley also warned the government that in light of concerns about the delivery of health care, the government, instead of doctors, may be held liable.
The government needs to be aware of the fact, and the Attorney General can warn them, that the Medical Protection Society may well in all matters seek to take take action instead of accepting liability on behalf of doctors, seek to join the government as the one who has failed to provide the adequate equipment and supplies to do the things that have to be done at the hospital.
Meanwhile, former Minister of Health, Donville Innes, says there has to be a new model for financing health care. He says frequent injections of government funds is not the answer and suggests direct taxation or a national insurance program where monies are deducted from the salary of every working Barbadian.
What exists now, to my mind, is not sustainable. This situation where you are constantly at the mercy of the Treasury, their own cash flow challenges that occur from time to time. This also occurred in days of plenty, I must say. But there are times when you have voted or you've allocated, let's say, $40 million for a quarter for the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. It's been approved by Parliament, etc. But then because of cash flow challenges within the Treasury, they may only get 15. But the hospital still has its suppliers to pay. And then that affects the relationship between suppliers and the hospital. So it may move from 30-day payment to 90-day situation. Credibility is affected.
Opposition member Kerry Simmons says the severe shortage of supplies at the hospital should come as no surprise. He is suggesting that the writing was on the wall from as far back as last year, but that government failed to properly address the situation.
It was also in the latter part of 2013 when distributors of medication in this island went public, not the Barbados Labour Party, and they said, sir, that they would be or would not be supplying the island's lone hospital with medication until debts owed by the Queen Elizabeth Hospital were paid in full.
The MP for St. James Central is also of the view that government should have shelved some of its social programs to ensure money was available for the most critical areas like the hospital. In other news now, tenants of the Barbados Industrial and Development Corporation, or BIDC, owe the government agency about $10 million. This revelation from Industry Minister Donville Innes. He raised the issue in the context of government seeking to assist local manufacturers to remain viable. Minister Innes says rent relief and low-cost loans are considerations.
We certainly have to pay attention to the rental costs. Is there anything we can do to offer at this point in time in our development a better rental arrangement for those who are in the manufacturing sector in Barbados? Matters related to the use of technology, for example. How can we get our companies in Barbados to use the latest in technology? There's a cost to that. And perhaps the state can assist by way of either lower cost financing, using our might and influence to get the lending institutions to offer the right rates.
Budget cuts have forced the Education Ministry to scrap one of its long-standing summer programs for students, most of whom were underperformers. Shane Seeley has the details.
Government cutbacks are definitely having an impact on the rollout of summer school programs for the nation's children. But the Ministry of Education is still getting the job done. For the first time in years, there's no summer school secondary, only a summer school primary right here at George Lamin School. And what the Ministry of Education is doing is helping those students who were deferred from doing the 11+ exam for one reason or another get their grades back up to scratch.
There have been some reduction in our budget, which has impacted not so much on the delivery of our program, more in terms of the peripherals. So we normally would have provided a lunch for the students. That has been reduced in terms of cost and quantity. It would have affected to some degree the provision of resources. We perform various diagnostic tests to ensure we know where the students are. We are also focusing on creating individual educational plans for them in the main areas of language arts, mathematics, and reading.
This year, 115 primary school students are registered for the program. That's a small percentage of the close to 4,000 students who would have sat this year's Barbados Secondary School entrance examination. Mr. Carter says the number allows education officials to conduct the level of intervention required.
We have counselors who would have worked in the primary system from the Sandy Lane Trust. We also have here experienced teachers, specially chosen because of their skills. We also have extracurricular activities, whether it be martial arts, biosticy, and so on, to make sure students feel comfortable and that this is a meaningful experience for them.
There's no more blackboard and chalk at this year's summer school primary. What the Ministry of Education has done is partner with Digicel in what is a major technology push, where they'll be specifically using tablets to facilitate learning across the board.
This is a new feature where teachers can control classrooms by the use of their tablets. Hopefully this will roll out across the ministry with their blessing, of course. And we are providing a very detailed review at the end of the month.
This technological push, it may not be anything new based on our former plans, but we are utilizing a variety of methods, programs from the internet to ensure that students are absorbing what they need to for next year's examination.
Shane Seeley, CBC News.
Thanks, Shane. Well, we have more news just ahead, but first we want to hear from you on the question: do you believe the shortage of supplies has affected the delivery of patient care at the QEH? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We'll have the results for you at the end of the news.
Favorite cities just got closer, announcing the enhanced Scotiabank Aero Platinum MasterCard. Now you can fly to New York or Miami with just 20,000 Scotia points. Take off sooner and redeem your points later. With your new Scotiabank Aero Platinum MasterCard, you'll receive up to 12,000 Scotia points, plus chances to win a fabulous trip to New York City. Apply by July 31st. Call 1-800-744-2672 or visit your nearest branch. Scotiabank. Discover what's possible.
The Barbados Tourism Authority is putting a plan in place to track the number of visitors that come to the island specifically for the Cropover Festival. This from the Acting President and Chief Executive Officer Petra Roach during a press conference at the National Cultural Foundation headquarters this afternoon. Ms. Roach says the BTA needs empirical data like the number of visitors and how much they spend during the festival.
One of the things that we've recognised is that we could never give proper scientific information on how many people had actually come in for the festival. So this year we've actually got a stamp which is being given to the immigration officers, and they will question people as to the reason for their visitation when they arrive. So therefore at the end of the festival we will then tally those and be able to give proper scientific information on who arrived from which markets for the festival.
Ms. Roach also told the media airlift is available for those who want to come for the festival, and from all indications, bookings are strong.
We recognised the opportunity and spoke with JetBlue because they had the availability of an additional aircraft. So from June the 19th through to September the 9th, we've actually got an additional A320 coming into Barbados, and that's got 150 seats, and that's in addition to their regular A321 service, which has 190 seats. and that service is actually a red-eye service, and that leaves JFK at 9:41 p.m. and arrives in Barbados at 2:35, so early in the morning, so you can go to the FET and then depart at 3:40 in the morning and arrive at JFK at 8:39.
Well, there's also been a 12% increase in capacity on Air Canada, and just over 700 seats have been put on by Thomas Cook out of the United Kingdom for the month of July. Minister of Education Ronald Jones is concerned over the declining performance of students within secondary schools. Many of these students, he says, did well at the primary school level, the common entrance and first form. However, he notes as they turn 13 and 14 years, their performance declines somewhat.
When they reach that age cohort, there's a decline in every one of our schools. In every one of our schools, there's that decline. Somehow they're not able to continue that trajectory right through. And that has to do, again, as I said, the noises you hear, the distractions, if they're emotional or behavioral experiences, if they're maturation experiences, if they're simple things as a husband and a wife, divorcing.
Mr. Jones was speaking as 20 of the outstanding students in the recent 11+ examination were rewarded at the 3rd annual Diamonds International Mont Blanc reception and prize-giving ceremony at Lime Grove. Roger Holder of Diamonds International congratulated the 20 students, saying they had worked hard to reach their academic goals. He told them they are at an important stage of their life that will chart their future.
With this brilliant start, we hope that you continue to shine and be an example for all other young people to follow. You are all proof that hard work, dedication, and the desire to succeed are the cornerstones to achieving your goals. Aim high, dream big, and never let anyone derail you from your dreams.
A former educator wants parents of prospective first formers to become more involved in their children's lives when they enter their new schools in September. This was one of the points which the director of Parados, Marcia Graham, stressed as she delivered the feature address at the St. Christopher School's graduation ceremony. She told the parents of the 47 graduates that their continuous support will inspire their children to strive for excellence, boost their confidence, and prompt them to work harder.
Parents, when you want your children to have knowledge, you must be willing to sit with them, whether you know the content or not. You cannot be an absent parent and expect your children to do the best, and help them visualize a bright future.
Several students were recognized for their hard work in the common entrance exam, and others received prizes for improvement in behavior. Principal Cheryl Sargent Speed described this year's results as good, noting that the majority of students attained over 50% in both mathematics and English.
The highest English score was 88. In English, 29 pupils scored 50% and above. In mathematics, 7 pupils scored 80% and above. The highest mathematics score was 97. In mathematics, In mathematics, 20 pupils attained a score of 50% and above.
We'll have regional news next, but first a reminder that we want to hear from you on the question, do you believe the shortage of supplies has affected the delivery of patient care at the QEH?